And after 1987, however, every proposal for constitutional amendments has foundered on the question of, one, fear of presidents perpetuating themselves in power, and mistrust of the ruling coalitions of the day as being interested only in their own self-perpetuation. Number two, presidents, all of them armed with mere pluralities, lacking the mandate necessary to demonstrate political will. Instead, they are hostage to whichever of their coalition supporters are best funded and best organized. Yet none of these coalition members can sufficiently mobilize to convince the public that they represent more than sectoral interests at all. And third, the lack of any durable party identity to stiffen the resolve of the political class or sufficiently weaken opposition from the public or sectors opposed to any changes, including those who will oppose any and all change. And fourth, no organized constituency capable of blunting the ferocity of the left in portraying any change to economic provisions as a sellout and treason. The latent inclination of the public, specifically the middle class, to go along with liberalizing economic provisions, therefore, hasn't been tapped. Now, Fidel V. Ramos came closest to amending the Constitution, but in the end held off from a full-blown confrontation with his erstwhile allies from the people power era. Jose Almonte later said he felt FVR had backed off prematurely, but perhaps Ramos himself, a master of minority factional politics, knew that he lacked time to properly consolidate the coalition he'd built up. Joseph Estrada proposed economic revisions, but the divided EDSA forces who'd failed to unite to block his election to the presidency recombined in enough numbers to topple him from the presidency because of scandals that helped erode Estrada's formidable popularity. Now, the most recent effort to achieve constitutional change foundered in 2006, but the lesson from that effort is that the old EDSA coalitions are divided themselves, sapped by old age and diminished standing before the people. And the public itself, its civic sense sapped over the 2 decades since 1986, has proven difficult to arouse and organize. So to answer the questions I proposed in the beginning, let's look at the following. First, success is achieved in any charter change effort by marshaling the support of A, the political class to undertake changes even if in the short term they may seem not entirely beneficial to that class itself, such as, let's say, restoring the Senate, even if you have a unicameral legislature. The most effective appeal to the political class is a conservative one that dangles political advantage and stability in the system in equal measure. B, public opinion. If not to the extent of enthusiastic, widespread public support, then at least public opinion has to be harnessed so that you will prevent widespread, sustained public opposition to any charter change proposal. And C, invoking political will on the part of a president armed with popularity, or at least the support of a sizable majority. Now, the proposals themselves, what succeeds and what fails? A, to succeed, they have to be concrete, that is, specific enough to be adequately discussed and understood, or at least to give the impression of a sufficient national debate. No one likes to be rushed into anything. B, they must offer, in terms of institutions, at least some sort of incremental benefit over what currently exists, in terms of the financial bottom line, for example, or to propose economic gains for Filipinos and not just foreigners. And C, all these proposed changes must not require changes so extreme as to raise the frightening possibility for most ordinary people already comfortable with the present system that their knowledge and their current place in the current scheme of things might end up rendered obsolete overnight. This is why really out-of-the-box proposals for rearranging our form of government never fly. And D, they must reflect some sort of national consensus. That is, whoever proposes it and pushes it forward must be able to say, hey, this has been discussed well enough and thoroughly enough that most people are for it, not everyone. Now, third, the process should be accompanied by the following. A, ample and vigorous debate, as much as possible with the leadership being forthright, that is open, in taking responsibility for the changes proposed. B, They must engage the support of crucial institutions with no particular bloc publicly exercising its veto power. What do I mean by this? For example, since 1986, the Catholic Church has exercised a strong veto power. The Iglesia Ni Cristo also exercises a slightly weaker one. And informally, the military too wields a kind of veto power too, as does big business. And C, they must pass legal scrutiny and challenges and avoid confrontation over the proposed amendments being taken to the streets, or be close enough to an election so that in case of failure, its proponents then risk some sort of reckoning in the polls. So when we return, we'll talk to someone who's had a chance to conduct extensive discussions on the new proposals for charter change.
Books featured by the explainer are available on shelves or on order at a different bookstore.
Okay, joining us tonight is Nick Cugtas, the editor of a group blog called Filipino Voices. That's FilipinoVoices.com. Now, why did we invite Nick? He's a chemical engineer, and so he's not a politician. In fact, he lives most of the time in the United States, but he's a committed citizen and has gathered together a whole group of different writers, including ANC's very own R.G. Cruz, who all share their different views. So, Nick, you know, the reason I asked you to come on is that Filipino Voices is one of the places online where a really vigorous discussion representing all sorts of views is taking place. Can you give our viewers sort of a quick rundown on how this debate is taking place? What are the different views and that sort of thing?
Well, actually, FilipinoVoices.com, it is a group blog. It's very multifaceted because we have people writing from different sectors. We have lawyers, we have students, we have old, young, and it gives us a sense, a better discussion on the issues, just like charter change. Now, the debate on charter change has been on fire, actually. It's one of the biggest hits that we get in the internet. Now, we have R.G. Cruz, who is from ANC. He's actually supportive of charter change because he believes that it will move us away, move forward from our stagnation. And we have people against charter change, of course, not only because of the current administration. They're not supportive of the current administration, but because of specific reasons. Because they believe that it's not only about charter change, but it's about the administrative process, how the executive has handled the current situation, the current economic situation, the current political structure here in the Philippines. So all this debate is happening. It's sort of like a microcosm of the discussions happening all over in the Philippines, not only in upper middle class, but also probably in the poorest regions in the Philippines.
No, you yourself, you're a Filipino American, and there are others who are who write on Filipino Voices who are based in the United States, and others who are based here. Is there a fundamental difference in the approaches Filipinos take depending on where they're located or where they happen to live?
Actually, we have writers from Australia. We have writers from in the United States. One is a lawyer in the United States. We have writers in Singapore. Now, their approach is a bit different because sometimes we have writers who are from us, not in the Philippines, who have a total different view. We have a view of certain issues that they want to be focusing on, and they don't really see what's happening on the ground. There's a lot of conflict right now because some people do not think that people who write abroad on charter change should be even listened to because they don't feel the problems Filipinos face here.